Looking at our first 1 through 5, remember that zeros that come before non-zero numbers don't count. So these 2 zeros don't count. These 2 zeros don't count. These over here in number 8 don't count. This one doesn't count, right? They all come before non-zero numbers, and so those zeros don't count towards anything. So this just gives us 1 sig fig. Now, this 0 here that's after a non-zero number, and there's a decimal present, that one counts. That's why it's 2. This 0 here, it's after a non-zero number, and there's a decimal, so that one counts. These zeros are after a non-zero number, but there's no decimal place here, which means those don't count. Number 6, there's a decimal. Now, all of these zeros do count because there's a decimal there. Right, so when you have the zeros after non-zero numbers with no decimal, like you see in number 5, then those zeros don't count. But when you have a 0 after a non-zero number and a decimal, like in number 2 and number 4, those zeros are significant. And the last one, right, the sandwich rules, if you have a 0 in between non-zero numbers, like all of these zeros, all of those zeros count because they're sandwiched between them. Right, so this 501 is 3, this 501.0 is 4, the 5,000, because there's no decimal, is only 1. This here, right, this is a sandwich 0, so it counts. These are zeros after non-zero numbers with a decimal, so those do count. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sig figs. Looking at the next group, you're just putting a letter over a line over the last significant figure, right? This 0 does not count because there's no decimal. These zeros do count because there's a decimal and a non-zero number. Here there's a decimal and a non-zero number, so all of these count. So that's why it's over this one. Let's see, at number 6, there's no decimal place, so these don't count. That's why it's over the 1. There's a 0 at the end here of there's a decimal at the end of number 8 and a non-zero number, so that makes all of these zeros significant. That's why it's over here at the end. Right, these are zeros before non-zero numbers, so those do not count, but because this 0 is after a decimal place and a non-zero number, it does count.